Hello and welcome. I've just come back from the UK Game Expo exhibition in Birmingham, and I was lucky enough to have a demo game of this game Dead Man's Hand Redux Become the Legend. This is a kind of a Wild West skirmish between lawmen, outlaws, desperados and cowboys, which was really good fun, and did make me purchase the actual game. So this session I'd just like to have a quick run over of the actual game itself, what you get in this starter set, and how to build the models, etc. Now this is the two-player starter set which I bought at the exhibition. Obviously you can get it online. It's produced by Great Escape Games. They have a website, and I'm sure there's other gaming online stores you can purchase it from as well. There's also a lot of additions you could add on, extra buildings, extra characters, extra scenery. So it could expand to a big world, but it's basically based in a Wild West town. Now, before I go into what you get in the box, I'd just like to say that this is my own review of what I liked and didn't like about the game and the actual contents of the box, and I am not paid by anybody to plug any product at all. This is just purely my point of view on the game, which I must admit I did actually enjoy my little skirmish and the demo I had during the exhibition. So moving on, the first thing you get in the box is the rule book, which is very colourful inside, very concise, and I couldn't see any reasons why you would need pages and pages of frequently asked questions, because it was quite clear, quite clear to understand, and set up in a nice fashion from beginning to end. But we will cover this more in a bit more detail a bit later on. Also inside the box you get 3 sprues of figures. Now I've actually started making a few of these figures, which I'll show you later on, but you basically get 2 sprues the same, which are the male gunslingers, if you for a bit better word, which you can make up any of the factions with. And then on the last and final sprue for the figures or the characters is the female version, which is the Gunfighters 2 set, which you can also buy as a separate package as well if you want to double up on figures. Again, we'll go into detail of what the sprues contain and how good they are and how the models fit together a bit later on. And we'll do the same for the buildings. Also inside the box you get the instructions on how to construct the 3 buildings, which I think are 1 2-story and 2 single-story buildings. There are obviously other ones you can purchase, but it's a good starter for the game. Now inside the box you get 12 sprues to make the 3 buildings, some with the sides and the roofs on, some with the floors on, and also an additional sprues for all the boardwalks or sidewalks you put on in front of the buildings. There's also some nice little extras within some of these sprues for barrels, steps, saddles, and where you would stow your horses. All modular based, quite easy to assemble. Again, I'll go through this a bit later on in the video. And in addition to the buildings, you obviously get a couple of little items for scenery: dogs, birds, barrels, and then you get spare wagon wheels, milk churns, a block of wood or a stump of a tree with an axe, some boxes, some suitcases, a great deal of little accessories just to make it a nice western town, as you'd expect to see in any of the cowboy films you've seen. You also get a nice little bookmark for the game. Also in the box you get a very important part of the game mechanics is the deck of cards. Obviously it's like a full deck of cards, but with their own special rules. Obviously spades, clubs, hearts and diamonds, as you expect in any deck of cards, but they've also got rules for the game as you play. Again, we'll go into this in a bit more detail a bit later on. You also get templates, like little round discs to show kind of movements and actions within the game, which we will explain a bit later. But basically, you get movement. You have 3 actions per turn per character, so you could move 3 times. So you'd have 1 move, they've moved twice, they've moved 3 times, or they've got injuries. So you can have 1 injury, 2 injuries, 3 injuries, and then you have these ones which are like out of ammo. These are all explained later. Now these are double-sided as well, so if you run out on one side, you can obviously use the other. Last but not least is the actual dice. Now within the game, you throw a d20 for hits and d10s for morale. Now obviously most of these westerns skirmishes are going to be goodies versus baddies. You've got white dice and black dice. Now for some strange reason in this box, you've got a white dice for d20 and a white dice for d10 for one side, and then a black d10 and a black d20 on one side and a yellow d10 on the other. A bit strange you didn't have a black d10 to match the d20, but it doesn't matter, it's just cosmetics. They'll still do the same job. Okay, so that's all what's in the box, and let's have a look at the actual game in itself. So the rules I played at the exhibition was like a 10-minute summary or 15-minute summary of the game. Now I had really good fun with it, but we didn't go into all the depth of all of the factions and all the different rules. But it was fun, I enjoyed it, and it was quite simple. And we had a quick skirmish within 10-15 minutes, so you can make this game quite short or quite long if you used all of the rules. And we'll go into the details of that bit now. Now, as per most war game turns, it starts off with initiative, and the way this is done is by using the deck cards that you are given during the start of the game, depending on what faction you're on. So like the hearts for the lawmen, spades for the outlaws, clubs for the desperados, and diamonds for the cowboys, I think it is. So what you would do, you shuffle the pack beforehand, and then this is simultaneously put down a card, ace, so he would go first, and then if the diamonds shook as well, he put an 8, so obviously the ace would go first, so he would get initiative. Now as you can see, these are not normal playing cards. They have the number and suits that you would normally get at the top of any playing cards in a regular pack of cards, but they also have some rules in the middle which will come into play later on. But for the initiative side, all you're looking at is the numbers, and the actual rules within the cards aren't used for these initiative cards. One thing I did like about these cards is the fact that they are quite small, so if you've got several players or characters, should I say, fighting on the battlefield or the western town, you don't want huge playing cards sitting next to your character to take up all the space. So these are quite small, but not too small that you can't read the rules. And secondly, the back of the cards are quite a nice little design of the dead man's hand redux insignia. I thought that was quite cute. Now obviously having initiative is a bonus, but an advantage, but sometimes you can interrupt that them doing their actions, so it's not all doom and gloom if you don't get initiative. And it's per character, not per player. So if you have 2 or 3 characters on your side, you may have the second character of yours beat their second character and it comes to initiative. So it's not all doom and gloom. It's not like player 1 goes and then all of player 2 goes. It's per character, which is good. Okay, as I said before, each character has 3 actions per turn, and there's 7 actions they can do depending on the status of them and where they are on the gaming board, etc. So you can do move, you can fight, you can aim, you can shoot, you can reload, unjam or change a weapon, or recover. So move is obviously you can move towards your opponent or away, or hide behind cover. Fight is is actually hand-to-hand combat. Aim is to get an extra bonus on your to hit if you're going to shoot next. Obviously shooting is shooting. Then you have, or you can reload, unjam, or change a weapon if you've run out of ammo, or you want to change a weapon to a more devastating one. And recover is like a heal to get rid of some of the hits that you've had on your character already. Now there are several weapons you can use within your faction. Obviously I think pistols has to be at least 50% of that, unless you have special rules that allows otherwise. And each weapon has its own rules. Pistols, for instance, can have 3 shots. So as you say, if you have 3 actions per character, they can shoot that pistol 3 times. Shotguns can either shoot 2 shots or 1 large shot. The larger shot has a bigger plus, etc., etc. So if you have any characters that have been hurt from the previous turn, you can, or even for the turn you're in, you can actually recover and try to like heal yourself to get rid of some of those injuries you've sustained. And if you've actually shot anybody, you roll on the kind of shooting results chart. And a natural one is out of ammo, so you didn't actually hit them at all. You've just run out of ammo, so it's not good. 2 to 10, you've actually missed. 11 to 14, under fire marker, which is a marker onto the target character. 15 to 18, you get an under fire marker and a nerve test. And then 19 and 20 obviously hits, they're actually shot or killed. Now, as per any kind of war game, normally there's plus bonuses and negatives against line of sight, ranges, that type of thing. So it's not a complete 1 to 20. There are kind of adjustments to include. Now, as I just mentioned, nerve tests, that is like a morale check, which sometimes you would have to do if you are nervous. As you can see there's a lot more rules, but that's just kind of the basics. As you can see, the rulebook is really colourful, and the figures and obviously the buildings that they've used are a very good reference material, apart from watching cowboys and western films yourself. But it is a great inspiration on how to paint them yourself. Now, a great dynamic of the game, which I mentioned earlier, is the playing cards, which have their own special rules within the card. Each faction has its own suit, hearts, diamonds, clubs and spades, and all the rules between numbers 2 and 10 are the same for each faction. So you know roughly what those cards are. Well, you know what the cards are going to be in the other opposing player's hand. The other thing is the cards from Jack to Ace are all faction orientated, so it makes a bit more of an interesting and unpredictable game. Now, some cards can be played during an opposing player's turn or your actual turn. And to bring a bit of resources into the game, you only get 3 cards at the start, so you've got to be mindful of when you use them. Now, you do replace these during your turns, but you've got to be careful when you use them and use them wisely. Now, all the rules are, say, quite detailed. I can't see any reason for any kind of frequently asked questions required, because it's quite clear and concise instructions. One thing I did like about this game, there is a kind of a campaign version as well. Now, as I said before, the game is actually on a kind of a Western style skirmish based on films and TV series. So these are kind of called acts and scenes. And within that you get 3 scenes per act, and that's kind of basically one game or one campaign. Now, the acts and scenes is basically 3 scenes to an act. Scene 1 is maybe just a couple of guys against a couple of guys. Middle scene is basically a few more guys included, and obviously the final scene is the big finale with a huge shootout at the end. Now, to ensure that the game is equal, obviously each faction has a point system, and it's all based on like the bosses having more points than their normal underlings, and obviously have a stronger stats than their underlings as well. But it is balanced so that you all have the same amount of points before you start each scenario. And within the campaign, you can also add what they call fame points, which helps you earn extra things for your characters within the game or within the campaign. which you can use during your turns, which I thought was quite good. So moving on to the actual figures themselves that you use, I'm showing you the sprue for the Gunfighters 2 set, which is the females or the ladies of the gangs. Now, as I said before, most of the scenarios require you to have at least 50% of your miniatures to have, or characters to have, pistols. And then obviously you can add the additional ones with shotguns and rifles, and sometimes you can have dual wielding people like 2 pistols. So as you'd expect, there's plenty of arms for the pistols, and then obviously you get the extras for the shotgun there, the repeater rifle, normal rifle. You get all the bodies, torsos, legs, and plenty of faces, some with hats, some without, some with bandanas on or handkerchiefs over their face, some are shouting for aggressiveness, and yeah, I think they're very good characters, and I think for painting these, it's really going to be a lovely experience, especially with the detail on the faces. Now, as the same as the other 2 sprues, which are for the male characters, yeah, the legs, you have a smooth kind of base to put the torso on, and then you have smooth arms and smooth on the torso as well, where the arms will go. So they will stick to them quite easily, but I did find it easier to rough some of the surface first to make sure the glue sticks. Now, on the sprues themselves, there are actually some mould lines that need to be taken care of with a file or a sharp knife scraped over them, but nothing too difficult. And also I did find that there was a few gaps between the torsos and the legs, and sometimes the arms, depending on what position you put them in, but easily can be resolved by Milliput or green stuff or something similar. Plenty of heads, plenty of torsos, plenty of legs to choose from to make your set, and they're all interchangeable, so it's entirely up to you. Whatever flavour I use, I will be using some of the inspiration from the actual rulebook, because they did look quite good. Now, what's a good war game without some decent scenery? Now, you're not disappointed with this starter set. You do get 3 buildings, and they're hard plastic, very sturdy, and easy to make, easy to build. They're all quite modular, and as you'd expect, you want your characters to hide behind cover sometimes, and you can actually put them inside the buildings themselves, as you can see here. The doors on these buildings don't have to be glued in, so they can open. And inside the actual buildings itself, this you glue in yourself, but it can move anywhere along that, so you can have a small room and then a large room, or just 2 similar size rooms. You can have the door the other way around. It's entirely your choice. It is quite modular. Now, here's the kind of the floor base for the houses you've got, or buildings, should I say. You've got kind of little slots that the end parts of the buildings will go into quite easily, and then obviously you have a longer slot for the longer sides of the buildings. But again, you can swap these around a little bit. And as you'd expect, the slots on top of the first floor to put the roof on you have the opposing parts of it on the other side of the floor. So you would just put them on top, and then it all fits together nicely. Now, as you expect with most westerns, you also get these boardwalks that you can. These are already built. You don't have to actually build these. You just have to take them off sprues and clean them up a bit. They will just fit in front of the building, or at the sides if you want. There are some extra long ones as well, and then you get a little porch to put on top. Makes it more authentic. Now, as I said before, the plastic used for the sprues is a hard plastic, so it's quite robust. Particularly the buildings are very quite good thick plastic. The figures themselves are good hard plastic, so the guns aren't going to bend, or spears that bend if you get any spears on some of the extras you can buy. When you're painting them or when you're playing, they're actually quite rigid, so that's good news. Now, as I said, I'm looking forward to painting these instead of just using the camouflage green or olive drab that I'm using for World War II stuff that I normally do. The colours for the characters can be a little bit more adventurous, with the reds, oranges, or whatever I need just to colour the handkerchiefs or stuff of the cowboys. Is a bit more light and life to the characters. And when it comes to the buildings, well, I would normally use an airbrush to paint because it's such a large area. I'd definitely use that for the primer, but when it comes to the actual painting of the wood, I don't know what to use, because maybe use airbrush to start with and then use a paintbrush for the rest, particularly if it comes to colouring some of the borders or writing on a saloon or barber shop or whatever it's going to be, because obviously airbrushes were no longer or nowhere to be seen in the Wild West, so some hand painting will definitely be required. And hopefully I'll show you the painting techniques I've used in a different video. Well, I hope I've given you a bit of an insight into the game and the contents of the starter kit for the Great Escape Company's Dead Man's Hand. I must admit, I will tell you again that I did enjoy the skirmish that I had at the show, the Games Expo show, and I'm looking forward to painting and recreating some of my own scenarios in a big western town. Once again, if you have any questions on the kit or the rules, please give me a shout. I've only given you a very basic summary of the rules, and obviously there's a lot more to it, but so, either look online yourself or please ask some questions on it and I'll see if I can answer them best I can. Thanks so much for watching and hope to see you soon. Bye.